Hello everyone. So today we're going to discuss about the Chinese medicine wheel, which is the five elements map, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper and I will describe how this model works in the Chinese philosophy eyes. It will allow you to get even deeper with your interpretations and to see more connections to the messages that you're receiving from the sentences, what this element stands for, and by that you can deepening your observation towards your statements, sentences that you're receiving. So let's begin. We're gonna start with the fire element. So each element has the positive side and the downside of the element, like yin and yang. And in the fire element, if you think about fire, think about the metaphor of the fire. Fire element about excitement, intimacy, sensuality, spontaneous expression, yielding, merging, passion, self-explore, performing. It's an element that really likes the stage. If you think about those people with that, they have charisma and they don't need to speak a lot. You just get into the room and you can feel their presence. This is the strength of that element. But if we think about the downside, the element of the fire, if you think about fire, fire can be very dangerous. Fire can be very dangerous just because if we can't restrict fire, it can ruin, it can destroy. And the type of fire, the fears and difficulties of fire types is inactivity, separation, confusion, roughness, boundaries, deliberation, ordinariness, conservation, and suspicious. So if we take a look at the fire element, we can see that the fire element is based on the words joy and peace. The fire element is the one that combines the heart with the mind. You can see here on the left side the green line, which represent and symbols the wood element that nourishes the fire, and the fire nourishes the earth element. If you think about it in the nature, we have the lava, and the lava is the one that nourishes the earth. So wood nourishes the fire, and the fire nourishes the earth. The reason we have in the middle the words aware and inspire is because that's the energy that the fire represents. Be aware and inspire. Inspire others and be awareness of myself, of my surrounding, of my abilities. As long as I'm aware, I'm able to be mindful. I'm able to connect the heart and the mind. I'm able to create peace with my life. I'm able to take the joy and to put it in the right perception, so it will be balanced when I work with awareness and inspiration. If you look carefully, you can see inside the square there is a blue line very close to the joy. The reason we put the blue line is because when we look at a bigger picture, we can see that each element, in order to balance itself, needs also restriction, not only the nourishment. So we found out that the nourishment comes from the wood, and the fire itself nourishes the earth, but at the same time it has to have restriction, restricted element, an element that can restrict it, restrict the fire. And guess which element restricts the fire? Yes, the water. Water restricts fire. If you think about nature, water is the element that can take the fire and restrict it. If you think about nature, water is the element that restricts the fire. We use water in order to level down the fire. So the Chinese were so wise when they were looking at nature, and they saw nature and they saw which element nourishes, which element restricts, and each element, in order to balance itself, has a restriction and has a nourishment element. In this case is the fire. And if we think about emotions, when we speak from our wisdom, from our deep knowing of who we are, when we are balanced in the water element, we can create balance also in the fire element. So wisdom and deep knowing of who we are, what's our values and our strength, those are the core fundamental elements, core fundamental principles in order to nourish, to work well with the fire element, wisdom and compassion. We have the wood element that brings the compassion, and we have the water element that brings the wisdom. Those two, one is nourishes, which is the wood, and the other is restricting, which is the water. By that, the fire element gets balanced.